I started calling it illustrative style because it wasn't quite new school.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really do a lot of like exaggeration. I didn't do a lot of foreshortening or anything cartoony. Like I was always more like, let me take this real thing and put an outline on it and color it in an interesting way. I almost quit tattooing because of how bad my back hurt. Like that was one of the main motivations for, I gotta make this tattoo studio thing or this side hustle, tattoo smart thing, really make it possible for me to not tattoo if I don't have to, because I'm only getting older and this hurts.
What's happening? This is Austin Spencer with Support Your Local Tattooer. We are super excited to be a part of the Metanoia Tattoo Gathering in 2025. We're here with Russ Abbott.
Hello.
Who's going to be doing a presentation seminar. You got some good experience in that.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly have no idea how many times I've done this. So
that's cool.
Dude. Doing a long time.
So I'm going to lean on you this weekend because I'm doing one too with my wife, which will be fun. Because ours is going to be like tag team, little basic business structure and stuff. And then yours is going to be on.
Okay. So
I forgot what yours is on.
I do these workshops where it's not so much that I have like a slideshow and I have a plan.
Okay, cool.
I have a plan, but everyone hopefully brought their iPad along. Hopefully they were all warned
that
get some
chargers.
An iPad is needed for this. So there are a few steps in Procreate that I've noticed a lot of tattoo artists are missing. So even though they're using Procreate, they're using it like just one step beyond paper.
That's where I'm at. I'm like elementary level. Like I definitely lean on the guys in the shop. Like, how do I do this? How'd you do that tippity tap thing? You know?
Sure. So, I'm here with all the tippity tap things, but my goal is to make sure that they actually retain them, you know? So, so I want to demonstrate basically a process for how to think about your layers and how to think about a few of those little hidden secret gems in Procreate that are essential. And I'll give them a custom brush set that I made that has like locked in sizes for liners. So I'll give them something that will be really useful for creating line drawings, a few different tools for that. I want to make sure that they understand how to think about where the line drawing, the value study, and the color study fit in the process. Yeah. Right. Because I like to take it all the way. Like I want to start the tattoo with a completely rendered drawing, but I can't take a long time to do it. So this is all about an efficient process to be ready to tattoo.
That's a process, dude. Like, especially when you get busier, it's hard to find time to get all the way fully rendered. But dude, you can tell when people do it, obviously you get a better return on your tattoo. It's like so much better. For me,
I do that, right? Like I still want to leave a little room for, creative discovery in the tattoo.
Yeah.
But I also learned early on, but like when I first started doing digital and I was aiming for that completely rendered design because that was the reason I wanted to switch to digital. Like I felt like in the past I was doing that the best I could with like colored pencils and tracing paper and like lots of, horribly inefficient things.
Yeah.
And I couldn't always do it, right? So I'd have to start the tattoo with just a line drawing and I would make mistakes, make bad choices about value relationships mostly.
Yeah.
So then I realized that figuring out just a value study, even if it was a quick scribbly value study, like figuring out where the blacks are, figuring out what's going to be empty and how you're going to arrange those in the composition was like more important to me than color.
Yeah.
And so my process in Procreate is, start with a sketch, then to make a really clean outline of it. So I have my stencil and then I quickly value study using a few tricks. And then I really quickly color study. Like the color study comes from the value study. So like, for example, if there was like a red rose that I had colored in and only gray values, I can apply the red, but keep those values intact. So I don't have to think about dark red, medium red, light red, pink, all the way to white. I just think about it in gray. And then I pop that color in and I can infinitely adjust the colors of different colored components when the client's not happy with the red I chose or something like that.
For the listeners that aren't like super savvy on the terms, like just say values, for instance, you're talking like, what are the values to you and how do you express those through
So in art theory, we talk about hue, value, saturation. These are the three components of really color theory. The hue is which color it is, yellow, red, blue, purple. Value is how dark or light is it. So it's usually represented as a scale from black on one side all the way through all the tones of gray to white on the other side. And then saturation or chroma is how intense or dull is the color. So any color can be described in these three ways. But when we talk about a monochromatic approach, black and gray or opaque gray, or even only blue in all the shades and tints and tones of blue, that would be a monochromatic, right? Yeah. So value is the most important consideration because you don't have hue in that situation, right? So I believe, and I think a lot of other people who have studied this and thought about it believe that value is more important than color. And so if we have a good value study and we know where the darks and lights and grays are, and we've thought about how key moments in the composition are going to benefit from a certain decision about dark and light, from there, you are very likely to have a successful tattoo, even if we make shit choices about color.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah. Right. That's wild, dude. We kind of talked about, I, for some reason, thought, I want to go all back into the history and everything, that you were like an art school graduate. Like you really nerd out about this shit, dude. And I've been watching you do it for so long. It's really fun. It's a total opposite of like kind of just how I've always just like played with things and had fun and never really got super in depth. So when I definitely ask those things, it's because like I sometimes genuinely don't know the difference. Like you get really deep into color theory and all this stuff. It's super fun. I love it. And you found all these unique ways to express that through like your brushes and everything like that. That's, it's really fun. So that's more of what you're going to be covering. But like you said, you want them to comprehend it. For me, somebody that's like a artist that just kind of gets lost in the sauce. Like sometimes I can just get like zone out when it starts getting super technical. How do you approach them? Or like, what are the exercises or anything that you're going to kind of be going over with them to get them to retain that stuff?
Well, we have a lot of time here. I think when I've done this in the past, I did it in like an hour and a half, but I think I have 2.5 hours this time.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm thinking of kind of creating a little project that we can all do together. Some simple tattoo design, so that it has the sketch, it has the outline, it has the value study, and it has the coloring process. So sometime between now and 2 days from now, I will have a better answer.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to sit down and just do it myself.
I've been thinking about because I can demonstrate it. Yeah. And I try to not demonstrate it with anything that's too overwhelming and fancy. Although I do like to pull those designs up and let people see how far this madness can go when you really know how to think about layer structure and layer blending modes, things like overlay and multiply layer blending mode, which usually when I say that to tattoo artists, they're like, no, I don't.
Get so lost.
But those are important, right? Those are like a critical component and they are, in my opinion, like basic digital art knowledge. They're just not things that our peers are using.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, like stuff we make for Tattoo Smart is aiming, people like accelerating their, abilities digitally.
Yeah.
And the frustration or the difficulty in doing that is that still have to get people to remember to like somehow know the basics. So
yeah. And dude, when you say you go deep, like I was going into all of your 3-dimensional models and everything that you're building. Like I still haven't played with that. Like I'm still old school and I'm looking forward to like sitting down and hopefully obviously learning something this weekend.
I'll demo that process too, because people, even the people, typically people who have purchased model humans and are working with those 3D models have also missed some of those little things that make all the difference in how easy it is and how useful it is. So there's a lot of work for me to do to like educate people on how to use the things that I've made.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I feel bad because I haven't done that work. Like I've been more like, oh, what's the next product? What's the next product? So now I'm working a lot slower. Like I just released a new set called the washi set. And it's,
I'm excited to check that out. I was watching all your promo videos. They're super fun too.
Yeah. So that one, it has a tutorial, 30-minute tutorial video, which is not something I've ever included with any of the previous sets. So
that's cool.
So I'm really, slowing down and I'm making sure that like
just bringing value to everything.
Yeah.
That's great. I think that is personally an awesome idea. I was digging through your Instagram last night and I like going back to the body models, those silly ass videos you made. I don't know how you did it where you open the door and the body models there. I don't know.
I'll tell you. Yeah.
So I was like, how did you do that?
I'm glad you enjoyed that.
I'm such a technology not savvy human.
It's View and AR. So you've got any 3D model that you pull into Procreate.
Okay.
You can click a button that says View and AR.
What?
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so after a few seconds of thinking, it will project that little tiny, it actually comes out really small.
Yeah.
It's like a full person, but it's like an inch tall on your screen. And so you have to get really close to it and you have to pinch zoom it bigger and then get closer and pinch zoom it bigger. And eventually I got him to be like 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
And I'd put him on my front porch.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
And so you're filming through your camera.
I hit screen record on my iPad.
Okay.
All right. So like I'm screen recording the view of my iPad's camera while it's seeing him in real life.
Yeah.
And that's how I did it.
Well, okay.
And then I had to film a shot where I like open the door and I pretend to talk to him, but he's not really there.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't know. It was just creative and like fun little thing. And
thank you.
One thing that I find real fascinating about you is that you seem to, you kind of drive me crazy sometimes because you execute everything so well, it looks like, from an outsider. So, like your shop is beautiful. And when it comes to like your education, you take a lot of time and energy and put in that and it shows. And you've been doing it for a very long time, dude. It's like, it's fun to see and watch from an outsider.
Thank you. I do it mostly for me.
It's I just call it nerding out, right? You're just having fun, like getting into whatever you do and applying it to like tattooing. And you seem to always be like at the forefront of like technology applying to tattooing, right? I'm assuming that's your thing, right?
Yeah.
So if we could go all the way back and get to know Russ a little better, like how did you get into tattooing, or do you have any fun, like interesting references in time where you were exposed to tattooing and it lit something up inside of you? Or
sure. Yeah, I have two. One, I had a next door neighbor with a Donald Duck tattoo on his upper arm.
Okay.
He used to like mow his grass with his shirt off. And, I remember that tattoo specifically because I would have been like 7 or 8 years old.
Well, okay.
But I also have my grandfather, Mac Abbott, had a eagle and flag that he got like right before he shipped off to be at Pearl Harbor when it was attacked by the Japanese.
Yeah.
So like his tattoo and his story are a big part of like my connection to it.
That's cool. You were obviously a little guy there. Was around like high school or something where you started like really kind of, did you ever venture out and like sneak into tattoo shops and shit?
Yeah. We would go, I grew up in the suburbs of Atlanta, so, kind of like shielded from whatever culture really kind of was happening.
Oh, okay.
But I was into skateboarding, and I was attracted to that type of music and things like that. So like when I was like 16 or 17, we thought we can go to Little 5 Points and try to get an eyebrow piercing.
Okay.
Right. And so like,
that like a little,
I wasn't old enough. Right.
Yeah.
And you needed your mom. So like, then I went back and brought my mother, and she signed for me to get this eyebrow piercing. And then I went back to my conservative town and was the first kid with a body piercing at that like moment when body piercing was like all of a sudden a thing. Like people were getting their tongues pierced all the time. And like,
dude, I watched my friends do that shit in my bedroom with like a fucking safety pen.
Yeah.
Like
and we were doing the earrings, like we would like pierce each other's ears with like hold ice to it and like stick a needle through and get, only a left ear, you got to be safe
in the 80s.
Yeah. But, go to the skating rink for Friday night and then come back home and take it out before our parents saw it, like that was like the kind of shit we did when I was like 13.
Yeah. I remember watching
piercing was first, right? And then, tattooing. I had a friend, met this guy who moved up to my town from like South Florida, and he had a bunch of tattoos and he had a tattoo machine. He got like a kit.
Oh shit. Yeah.
And he was a tattoo artist. He did my first 2 tattoos.
Okay.
And I remember looking through the catalog. I was like 18, but didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So or maybe just about to be 18, but I didn't have any sense either. Like, how do you pick a tattoo artist when you're
Were you still living at home at the time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're hiding that shit from your mom and dad?
I didn't have to hide it.
No?
I don't think. Okay. I don't remember hiding it. I don't think they really like that kind of parent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he did my first couple of tattoos, and I remember seeing I think it was Superior brand.
Okay.
But he also had a Spalding and Rogers catalog, the one with the flash in it.
Yeah.
And I remember looking through all those little thumbnails of tiny flash that they sold. Yeah. And I was just like blown away by the artwork. I loved the tribal stuff. I loved like Japanese looking stuff like dragons and these types of things. And so that's when I realized, and I think I asked, and he said that you could just send off and they would mail you one of these catalogs for free. You know? So I guess I like
write the letter, send it off.
I think I did. Yeah. There was no internet, right? So this would have been like 1997-ish. And so I got the catalog. And then when I started going to college right after that at Georgia State, I was staying in the dorms and I would just look at that catalog and draw, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like at first an idea of look at the other catalog that has all the starter kits in it. That just came with the book with all the pictures, you know? So I remember kind of just like finally just getting the idea. Cause at first I would have thought, man, I can't do this like my buddy does this already. But I had like left there, you know, I'd like started a new life. Yeah. I wasn't seeing him anymore. And I was like, I guess I could do this, you know? Yeah. So I had a credit card and I just bought a tattoo kit, you know, and I got Huck Spalding's Tattooing A to Z and I read it cover to cover. And
no shit.
Yeah, man.
Were you illustrating ever since you were a kid? I mean,
I was always
doodling or like, where was your creative outlets? Like,
I was always into drawing. You know, my high school voted me like most artistic or something like that. You know?
All right.
Like people knew me as the like art nerd, but I wasn't really all that great at it. You know, I feel like I learned most of what I know about art through, you know, wanting to be a better tattooer.
Yeah. That's fascinating. I always find it fascinating. Like I interviewed a dude the other day that had never even illustrated until he saw a tattoo and was like, well, shit, I can't play the guitar very well. So I really, what if I could just look like that too? And so he got into tattooing, but that's fun, man. I've been drawing ever since I was a little kid, but which doesn't make me any better than anybody, but that's for damn sure. But so you didn't have like a lot of creative like influence in your home? Are you like the one artist that kind of came out of
I didn't really have, I mean, I guess my mom's sort of into crafting, you know, like she would do stuff like make fake stained glass with like gels and stuff when I was a kid and stuff like she makes, like she likes to make greeting cards and like stuff like that. And then, my grandfather was a draftsman. I have incredible illustrations that he did that were more like architectural. Yeah. So I guess there's a little bit of that in my genes, but it was more like me just kind of like, I was into several things. Like I would define myself as like an artist-ish, you know? I don't think I was that good back then, but like, it was important to me. A musician, like I played guitar since I was a kid.
Yeah. And banjo too, right? Or something?
Yeah. I picked up so many different stringed instruments over the years. Banjo was a phase for a while, but these days it's mostly just ambient guitar, you know, like I love to do like strumming, you know, playing like songs and singing. This is all stuff I do by myself usually. Like sometimes I'll put it on Instagram a little bit.
One. Yeah, that's cool. I like it because I don't know. I just always like, and it's always fascinating to me that when artists have like all of these outlets that they can grasp. I cannot play the guitar. I cannot do anything other than just maybe draw and do some graffiti type shit. But that's cool. That's fun. So, okay. So you got into tattooing and you started tattooing in your college dorm?
Yeah.
Like your buddies and shit? Like you're just fucking around?
Yeah. My roommates, you know, guy from across the hall. I probably did like 10 or so. And it was just another set of circumstances occurred and I ended up stopping college for probably what would have been one semester. It's a long story.
Yeah.
It's not that interesting, but I moved back to live in my parents' basement. At this point, I skipped my old bedroom and went to the basement.
Okay.
And I remember I slept on a couch that my friend's parents had decided to discard. So it was like a 1970s like velour, like striped orange and putrid green stripes.
All right.
Couch. That was my bed. It was also my tattoo table. Apparently. Yeah. Another funny thing is like I didn't want to be dirty, but like the book itself was written like 15 or 20 years earlier than that.
Yeah.
And that was the guidance that I had, right? Like I was aware that there was a thing called an autoclave, but they also sold you a bottle of sterilizing liquid with the kit. So it was like, the implication is that you can use this safely. And so I would, like my needles were new, the tubes were stainless steel, and I would do my best to scrub them out. And I remember thinking like, how do I change colors?
Oh, yeah.
Because the book didn't cover it.
Oh, no.
And so I thought that what I needed to do was completely disassemble the machine and rinse it out in the sink between colors.
Oh, wow.
And at one point I was like, man, maybe I need to use some dental floss and I'll feed some dental floss through there. And then I can like run the tube up and down the dental floss. And I tried that for a while, but it wasn't until I got my first tattoo from a pro in Panama City Beach on spring break.
Oh, okay.
Not my first tattoo, but the first time that
like went into a shop of age.
I went into Black Cat in Panama City, and I met a guy named Vampire Brian, and he did an outline of a koi on my upper arm that I have since had covered and then lasered.
Yeah.
It's not his fault. It's just it was just the wrong tattoo. But I remember him being like strangely helpful. He didn't like adopt the persona of like, fuck you, kid, I'm not telling you anything. And one of the things he told me, or I quickly noticed, was that there was a rinse cup that you could like run your machine in the rinse cup and then you were good. But like, so yeah, that was a funny story. But I went back home after spring break, and I ended up going to the local CD shop in the town where I lived.
Yeah.
They had started doing body piercing.
Okay.
So like the conservative suburbs now had a guy doing body piercing. And I was thinking, I wonder if that guy will let me bring my dirty tubes up here and use his autoclave. So I went in to see if I could broker a deal to have a sterilizer. And as soon as I told him that I tattooed, that was enough for him. He was like, why don't you come in here and run one on me? We'll see how you do. Maybe you can work here too.
What?
So I did. I came up there and I ran one on him.
Which is pretty.
Like, that's how he said it. I still remember it,
Yeah.
So I ran one on him, and
I'm imagining him wearing a top hat for some reason. He was weird like neck tattoo.
He was cool, man. He was probably like 10 or 15 years older than me, and he had like kind of a blonde hair mullet.
Yeah.
And he was a white guy, like blonde mullet, kind of like Southern accent, and he wore like a Native American like choker thing,
dude's
like 3 layers tall,
just piercing out of the back of a CD shop, like a badass. I like it.
Yeah. So I built I went to like Home Depot, and I bought some countertop and some 2x4s, and like made a little station in the closet in the back of the CD store, and started tattooing. So I used that same little catalog of
get the fuck out, like tattooing him or customers too?
No customers. I made a sign. I made a sign and I said now available tattoos. And we hung it outside, and like people just started filing in.
No shit. And you were like 1920 or something like that? Or
I was like, it was early 98.
Okay.
It was a few weeks, right? And I actually ended up calling Vampire Brian, and I said like, hey man, how does like the tattoo business work? Because I got a job tattooing, and I need to know how the business works, because they were asking me and I don't know. So
no shit.
So he was like, well, it's 50% if they buy all your supplies, and it's 60% if you buy all your supplies. So I went to them. I said, I'm going to buy all my supplies. You'll give me 60% of whatever I make. And they were like, cool. So
dude, who were the owners? Were they just like just super
eventually,
characters?
If I let the story go long enough, they eventually wisen up. But at first they were making some really, really shady decisions. Honestly, like I didn't really know any better, but
everybody was
should have
going for it. Yeah, which is pretty fun, especially when you look back at it.
I mean, it's legally, and this is the same town I still live in now, who still won't allow me to open a tattoo shop. But at this point in time, I don't believe we ever asked anybody's permission. They already had a business license. And so
thug life.
We just started doing it. But,
and nobody else was doing it. So they're probably just like, fuck it, let's just
we haven't even thought to outlaw it yet.
Yeah. Dang. So did you become like a legend in the neighborhood with all the youngsters?
No, I tattooed a few people. I probably did about 15 or 20 tattoos at that place.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, I met this guy who was visiting his brother, and he and his brother came in. I actually knew his brother. We worked at the food delivery, early version of Uber Eats. We worked there together.
Yeah.
We used CB radios and maps.
Okay.
And delivered food.
Yeah.
But I worked with his brother, and they came in, and that guy's name is Eric Campion. Eric told me he was from New York City, and he was a body piercer, and he had the best tattoos I'd ever seen because he was from New York. So during that week, we hung out, we became buds, and Eric needed a ride back home. And I was like, I have a car. He said, well, let's go. We'll hang out in the town I live in. It's like an hour from New York. I'll take you to the city.
Yeah.
You'll tattoo my buds.
Damn, you went straight to this. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So I went to the owners of the CD shop, and I said, hey, I got this really cool opportunity to like learn more about tattooing and go to New York City. Is that cool? Yeah. And they were like, sure.
Yeah. Fuck.
So I left. A week later, I came back, and I remember, and all those things happened. Like we hung out, we had an incredible time. It was like some of my best memories in life were from that trip. And I came back and the now available tattooing sign had been taken down, and I kind of knew what was up. I started to put the pieces together, and then I went in and the piercer had moved into my station.
Okay.
And my stuff was in a box. And they were like, yeah, okay, so this is maybe not so awkward. I think you see what's happening. And that was roughly 1 week before I decided I needed an apprenticeship. And I got one.
Yeah.
So all of the scratcher stuff like ended.
Yeah.
And it switched over to, a much more like
professional
tattooing.
Yeah. Was that overall a pretty good experience? Was that in New York or no? No, you said you just went there.
I just went to New York to get some culture.
Yeah, exactly. And then you came back. So then you got somebody to teach you how to tattoo in your hometown.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's still connected to Eric, right? Because I was looking in the local Creative Loafing. It's like the magazine that talks about culture in Atlanta. And there was an ad in the back that said, "In the Flesh Tattoo seeks body piercer." And I knew that Eric wanted to potentially, I don't know why anyone would want to do that, but he wanted to move there because he had family there.
Yeah.
So that was like my reason to go meet the people at this tattoo shop. They weren't looking for an apprentice, but like I was like, I know a piercer.
Yeah.
So I went there. When I got there, there was one person, Billy Brown, still tattooing out in Hawaii.
Okay.
But she was there that day and she wasn't tattooing. She was the only one working. She had just started the job like a month earlier.
Yeah.
And she was telling me about the owner. His name was Troll.
Okay, cool.
And everyone had a nickname.
Yeah. No, so I never got a cool tat
Brian Troll.
Yeah.
But she told me that, Troll was cool and that he would probably maybe talk to me about an apprenticeship.
Okay.
And I hung out and talked to her for a while. And she said he really likes Jack Daniels.
Okay.
I'm not yet old enough to like purchase Jack Daniels legally, but I got a friend and we I didn't know anything about Jack Daniels, but I bought the most expensive bottle available.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like a special label.
Oh, that's cool.
So when I went to meet Troll, I was like armed with the secret magic ticket in.
Yeah.
Because he had been like at a convention when I went in the first time. So he came back and I remember him standing there wearing all purple,
Dude, Troll's a badass too.
Yeah, he was
I like these characters.
He really loved purple. And it would be like a purple vest to hide his two pistols. He had like under each armpit, he had a gun.
Okay. Yeah.
And
like full harness thing.
Yeah. And so like that was his vibe. So it'd be like
that was his vibe.
Imagine like
I feel like he sells cocaine too on the side.
Maybe. I didn't see that. But no, there was like a beard with like probably braided maybe with like some beads on it.
Okay.
I'm thinking. I don't know. Yeah, rest in peace. Troll is no longer alive.
Oh no, R.I.P. Troll.
He died a few years back. And I won't have anything awful to say. Only it was an incredible lucky experience to have someone take me in. But he was cutting up Flash because we had like a system of like the line drawings had to go into the file cabinet, right? Because people actually came in and picked Flash. And so like he had just come back from a convention. He bought a set of Flash and he needed someone to cut the line drawings and number them and file them.
Yeah.
And then he had other Flash that didn't come with line drawings. So he needed someone to trace them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like that became my job.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I had to trace all this Flash.
Yeah. Cataloging and organizing artwork. Yeah. That's great. Dang.
And I had to paint things purple because like all over the shop, there was like, well, I remember there was one unfinished booth. There were 4 total booths, but the shop had been open for like a year in this location. And the one that I would eventually get to tattoo in was not painted. So I had to paint all these things purple. And,
that's badass.
Yeah.
One of the first shops I worked in, everything was blue neon and diamond plate floors.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting there trying to like talk about color theory, but being thrown into a challenge, it's just blue neon lights on you and then blue neon reflection from the bottom. It was like all the old school tattoo shops were like,
did they have chain link fence in there with like shit hanging off?
Yeah, it wasn't that cool, but Slayer playing 24 hours a day though. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the vibe.
So Troll, he guided you to the light. He was your tat lord.
Yeah, he was like,
That's cool.
We started with what I just told you. That was like my first thing. And it felt like every job that I got taught to do was like an achievement.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So like the next job, and it seemed like he would even hold back on things that I knew were horrible for him to do. But I think he made me work there for 2 weeks before I learned to scrub tubes, for example. Right.
Yeah.
Once I learned to scrub tubes, I was scrubbing a lot of tubes.
Yeah.
And then later I learned to make needles. So then I was scrubbing tubes, making needles. tracing things, painting things purple, working third shift at a gas station, you know, and trying to do my weekly drawings because I had like 10 drawings a week that were due.
Oh, cool.
Not having any reference, right? Like this is crazy, you know, because like now I'm in the reference business big time, but like at this point in time, dude, I was looking through the fucking yellow pages for little like graphics from logos from businesses to give me ideas. Like I didn't have any access to anything to give me inspiration, to give me something to draw.
Okay.
When I was sitting at the gas station all night. So
you didn't have like a great collection of books or anything like that?
I guess I didn't think through it deeply. You know, I could have just brought that flash book that I had, but
fucking no. I like the sourcing images through the yellow pages right now.
Yeah. It's a pretty weak way to learn tattoo design, but
was there some characters in there? Was that shop like, you said overall was a pretty positive experience? Like, did you get to work with some other unique, just fun?
Yeah. I still keep up with Timothy Kidd. Mm-hmm. He was Troll's first apprentice, and he ended up moving to Colorado, like Boulder, Colorado, just a little bit after I started. So I was with him for like 3 months, and then, you know, we always kind of kept in touch, and eventually I started doing guest spots in Boulder at the shop he worked at. We did some conventions together. He started building tattoo machines, and I used to use his machines.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, he's at a shop called Live Easy. Really, really cool shop in the Denver area now. Okay. And we still keep in touch.
Nice. That's cool. Did you ever have to dive into like machine building or anything like that? Was Troll having you like break things down? Or
I definitely had to learn the parts of a coil machine. Wanted to learn the parts. You know, I think Machine Gun Magazine was really helpful with that back then. I don't know if you ever saw those, but
I don't know. I feel like there was definitely one laying around, you know, and I looked through it. I for some reason never really just gravitated towards the machine. I always thought I thought they were beautiful, and I collected them, but like not to the level of like really nerding out on them, you know.
My machines never worked that great.
Yeah, that's why I was always irritated with it. Like I was just like, I just want to fucking draw, you know, and like paint and tattoo, and the machine always was like pulling it out, filing my contact points, or like, you know, it was just always something, and my mentor didn't really like give me a whole lot of information on that, but like you said, we took things apart and whatever. So,
well, Troll was self-taught. And I think when I met him, he'd been tattooing for 6 years. So like, I don't have a strong like tattoo lineage where there was someone who delivered that knowledge, but even still, like he had managed to figure out a lot of great information that he shared with me, but I still felt like there was more I had to go out and get, you know? So, you know, I remember sitting with Tommy Stiegel. He used to be a popular machine builder around our part of the world. And he was really nice about bringing me in and giving me lessons.
Oh, cool.
You know, I definitely found other like mentors with that, but
you're not a shy dude. It sounds like you always like put yourself in the position to be around good people, and that thirst for knowledge is always a good drive, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you were tattooing there for a while, or like, did you tattoo there and like work with Troll for years?
I think it was like about a year in, I became the shop manager because Troll was
traveling, and
I would say he was mostly traveling down to the Bennigans down the street and spending a lot of time at the bar. He was kind of like getting to a place where he was thinking about leaving, and he wanted to go travel Europe. He wanted to like backpack across Europe. And so he ended up selling the studio to another guy that I worked with there that quite frankly didn't love the fact that a 19-year-old kid was his manager.
Oh no. Yeah.
You know, and so we didn't have a really good relationship. And so like so my mentor was leaving. The guy who was buying the shop openly hated me.
Yeah.
And so I began to think about moving and getting out. There were like 3 options that I knew of in Atlanta. There was Psycho Tattoo with Dino Cook.
Oh, well, I didn't.
There was Timeless Tattoo with Cap Sumsky, and there was Sacred Heart with Tony Levis. But those were the 3, you know, like big shops that you know would be a level up, right? So, but I was strangely a little nervous at that point to even go ask. So I ended up making a little bit of a lateral move and going to a shop down the street that we were friends with. I did that for like 2 years and really like kind of like developed up to a point where eventually I ended up at Psycho Tattoo. And that was like my first kind of like maybe 3 or 4 years in where I was like, okay, now I'm around Dino Cook, and I'm around Guy Aitchison coming to do a guest spot, you know, Tom Renshaw coming to hang out, you know.
Dang, you're in a great environment, dude. And like at that time, I mean, Dino Cook, he was fucking the magazines were where you were at if you were anybody, and he was crushing it. Yeah, that's crazy. Is that shop still around? I don't even know.
Yeah, he changed the name to Sink or Swim a couple of years back, and he's still there, and
that's awesome.
He's still doing amazing color realism tattoos, mostly like underwater photography. Like he does the photography, and then he tattoos that photography on people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rad. Okay. So dang, so the environment there was awesome, and that was like just gassed you up even more and got you really
It gave me access to a higher I guess like echelon of
big and great
everything.
The world of tattooing is, and can be. That's fun. So you got to meet all different kinds of people through there, and then you worked there for years, or
worked there about 2 years. Got restless again. I think I'm like a 2 years in any place until I open my own. That's pretty much the pattern. So I worked there for 2 years, and then at this point I'm in Marietta, Georgia, which is like still the kind of the suburbs. Okay. Still thinking like Atlanta's where I need to be. And I got an opportunity to go work at a new shop that was opening up in East Atlanta, and super cool building, awesome location. And we ended up just like shifting over there.
Oh, cool.
And I was a part of that crew. That was the last place I worked before I decided to open up Ink and Dagger. And, that was just, I think 2007, right? So from 1998-ish, when around the time I did my first tattoos, to 2007, I worked in those shops.
Nice. What did you have like a certain style that you were kind of clinging to at the time? I mean,
it was starting to be like I did everything, right? Yeah. Like I did lettering, I did tribal, I did so many lower back tribal tattoos. I never got to do a Taz. Like I just missed it. Just fucking missed it. I did Japanese. I tried to do it traditional. I did black and gray. I tried to do realistic portraits. I just wanted to be capable of everything. Yeah. And I felt like at that time that made a lot of sense, because I was sitting at the shop hoping someone would walk in a lot of the time, Yeah. And so it was like, I need these skills. I need to be able to say yes to almost everything.
Yeah. That's how we were raised. I mean, our kind of age group, where we were learning how to tattoo, was there was no such thing as niche. You literally were like, dude, you better be ready for it. And if it's 10 o'clock and the shop closes at 10 and that tribal lower back walks in, you're going to sit down and do it, dude.
Oh yeah. Why not? It's feast or famine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the style came along through, I think, early influences: Joe Capobianco, Jimmy Litwalk, Gunner.
Yeah. Heavy illustrative, great bold colors.
Baxter at some point would have been an influence. Pretty much just watching, like religiously looking at Dark Side Tattoos website when Joe was there.
Yeah.
Eric Merrill was there, just really getting inspired by that. Also Guy Aitchison, his book, Reinventing the Tattoo, and the earlier books that he made before that. Those earlier books were all in Troll's shop,
Big ass binders.
They were like, I think there was like 3 different seminar booklets that he had. So I was learning a lot of like tattoo theory through that, and being inspired by those artists that I mentioned.
Strong illustrators, like unique illustrators, which I've always been a sucker for, like any tattooer that has their own real good touch. I remember I was sitting at a convention one time, and I was standing over Jimmy while he was working, and he's talking, and he's like, why aren't you here? Why aren't you working? And I was like, I don't know. I think I was kind of being shy about doing conventions. I'd only been tattooing for a little bit, and I don't even know how I knew him. But he was like, well, that's a shame. You should be out there sharing your talent. And I was like, and I don't know, he speaks like him and Joe, like speak so direct to you. And I was just like, oh shit. And then I just started doing conventions after that. It was fun, but he just was always one of those people that just said one little thing to me, and that was a little pivotal moment, in my tattoo career.
Yeah.
It's cool. Those are good dudes.
I wonder if he gets to hear this someday. And
maybe
he get him on, or maybe he doesn't, but
yeah.
I try to be that for other people, Yeah. Like I really do. I enjoy that. I've had the cool experience of having people come back 10 years later.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, you said this thing to me, and it sparked something.
Yeah. That's great. That's fulfilling. And I mean, I guess that kind of transitions us into like, when did you start feeling like you wanted to have a voice and teach people, like you've been teaching for a long time and providing a lot of cool components for tattooers to use, and back to like I remember you making a color wheel, and I was like, what the fuck? You made your own color wheel? How does that work? That's so cool.
Yeah. I feel like in the overall story, I'm skipping a few years. Because like when I was at Psycho Tattoo, got this really cool clientele of these like 18 to 21 year old like hardcore kids, you know?
Okay.
And like, they were getting the coolest shit.
Yeah.
You know, like this guy, Joe, got a full sleeve of like army ants fighting each other, like sort of like a Bug's Life, but my own interpretation,
cool.
you know? So I was like getting to do stuff where like Lego blocks, I'm thinking like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of stuff, you know, like, so Lego blocks are huge and the ants are fighting and like, super creative stuff.
That's right.
And like each of those kids was like trying to out interesting the next one with their tattoos. And like, I was their guy. So like,
oh, that's cool.
I started getting to do some incredible stuff and, you know, not really making a lot of money doing it, but perfectly happy to be doing it for what they would pay, you know?
Yeah, building up your portfolio and presence. Were you, at the time, were you submitting your stuff to magazines and shit? Or
no,
like,
I was too scared.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't. But I was, you know, definitely like building the portfolio that would attract, you know, the future clients and doing more and more creative work and, you know, starting to find my voice, which, you know, eventually I started calling it illustrative style because it wasn't quite new school. Like I didn't really do a lot of like exaggeration. I didn't do a lot of foreshortening or anything cartoony. Like I was always more like, let me take this real thing and put an outline on it and color it in an interesting way.
Yeah.
I feel like my process has always been kind of like that. I need an image or a picture of what the thing looks like in real life.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to arrange, and that's why probably I got into digital then, because I can take like pictures of things that, you know, that I either take myself or found on Google or whatever and start arranging the composition.
Yeah.
And then once I can start to see what it is, then I'll start drawing and
like
changing it.
Like Photoshop, like you were doing renderings and like kind of collage aspect type things.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of my processes for that type of work has always been about collage. So I never really like developed a great ability to draw like anatomy, for example. Like I never put the effort in to get good at that shit. Yeah. But I think whatever like thing that we focus on and like decide to do, if we do it enough, we can build a skill in it. But like the skill that I was building was more about an efficiency and a process, like getting to a point where I could start tattooing.
Were people asking you about that type of stuff, or like we're seeing, or like, you know, what was kind of the moment where you're like, fuck.
Why did I start teaching? Like I remember, so they just had Cigar City Tattoo Expo in Ybor City, Tampa, Florida, a few weeks ago. They brought it back, but the very first Cigar City was happening, and I'm in Atlanta, they're in Tampa, and somehow I knew someone that was connected to them. So I just reached out and asked, "Hey, I want to do a seminar. Can I do a seminar at your very first, you know,
that's cool
thing?" And they said yes, and I was like, "Fuck, I got to do a seminar now. I got to figure out how to like what I'm going to talk about and like." How is anyone even going to show up?
Yeah.
And I've heard that you can charge like $100 for these. So like, how am I going to do that? So I pulled that first seminar together, and I just thought I would talk about illustrative tattooing, which meant, you know, how I think about the process, how I think about outlines, what's black there for, you know, what colors do I use? And back then you could just do a seminar where you literally were like, this is the machine I use for outlines. Would you like to feel how it's running? And people would like line up and like, you know, put their thumb underneath the A bar and be like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, like you could give a list of all your favorite colors, which would have been like a few from this company, a few from this company, a few from these. And people got value out of that. You know? Like, because I mean, no one would give a shit about that anymore because they just see it all over Instagram. But those things were a little bit like more secret.
I forgot that seminars were happening back then. Like I remember before I even started tattooing, going to the Austin, Texas, I think it was not the roundup at the, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, I got into the elevator and Bob Terrell came in like super hammered, and it was like 2 a.m. and we were like, oh, my dad and I were thinking about taking your seminar tomorrow. And he's all, I wouldn't. He's like such a correct character. I love that dude. So anyway, but so I guess they were going on for a long time. And so
I did a seminar, one of Dino's seminars when I was working with him. Shane O'Neill, Black and Gray Realism seminar. And I remember Shane's seminar, like a lot of like, well, here's what one of my stencils looks like. It looks like a topographical map. You know, I take the picture of the person and I put it on top of the purple jelly part of the transfer paper and I draw through it with a ballpoint pen.
Okay, cool.
That was some interesting knowledge, right? That was worth something at that point. And then you could feel how his machines ran. He talked about how he makes his drop system and just, you know, that was the seminar. And Dino's was like that. It's just a process, right? Like, how do I do it? And I'm actually planning to teach a seminar like that again very soon, but
cool.
It'll be less about the equipment and less about, the needles I choose and more about the overall process, right? Like how I think about tattoo from, consultation all the way through, being done with it and having, for example, like really nice video and photos that I've captured throughout the process so I can make a case study and hopefully market to the next client. So I guess the best answer that I could give you to your question is, once I started thinking about teaching, I started thinking about what do I know?
Yeah.
And what's interesting about what I know or how I do things. And then I started designing my existence around documenting those things, right? So, because I started to learn, like, when I want to teach something, like, I need examples.
Yeah.
And so I start collecting the examples while I'm doing my work. And I start, like, sort of chronicling my process a little bit, just so I would have it for that future thing that I would want to teach. And, like, I guess I felt like I got better at tattooing because I was being so thoughtful about things. So, like, in a way, the teaching or the stress of knowing that I would be teaching was helping me develop.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm doing my first co-seminar this weekend. So I was telling you how I'm honestly kind of like nervous and like, oh shit. Like, I definitely don't want it to not make sense, and ours is like really simple and just kind of more about the basic business structure and stuff of tattooing, but it's still nerve wracking, you're getting up there but like anything, the more you do it, the better you get and the more interest and time and energy you put into it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get some advice from you this weekend too.
But, all right.
Yeah. I'm excited to see all your stuff. And so you've been like kind of back to like tattooing in your presence in Atlanta and area, right? So you're like suburbs of Atlanta. That's where
we're in Roswell, about 30 minutes north of Atlanta.
Okay. And so you've tattooed full time there ever since you started tattooing. Obviously you've traveled the world and tattooed, but that's cool.
That's always been home.
Yeah. That's great. So, as far as traveling too, I mean, so have you done seminars like overseas and stuff too?
Yeah, the biggest one was the Worldwide Tattoo Conference in Venice, Italy, to about 300 people who were all wearing headphones, and I was being translated into 3 different languages.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That was incredible. That was put on by Alex DePasse and Gabe Ripley back in, I don't know, maybe it's been like a decade now, but
yeah.
They don't have that anymore, but it was really, really cool. A couple of years ago, I spoke at the Columbia National Tattoo Conference, also being translated into Spanish.
That's rad.
I still continue to get these really cool opportunities because of, and maybe you will too, because there's a really small group of people who have, kind of gotten over their imposter syndrome and gotten on a stage and attempted to do this. And so, it's not like the people that are putting together these educational conferences aren't asking more people that we'd all be interested to hear from. It's just they're getting really used to people saying, I don't know, man. Like, who am I to, to tell anybody what to do, because I think that sort of mindset is stopping a lot of people. It's a weird place to get to, it's nerve wracking.
I kind of, just by doing this podcast project, have learned so much. You can't help but learn about yourself because you're having to like edit and watch videos of yourself and the way you talk and express yourself. But then listening to tattooers or younger tattooers tell you, like you said, that a few nice things about you, and you're like, oh shit, I don't know. I guess I do have that knowledge, whether you think of it or not. So it's weird and an interesting process to package it and try to figure out if anybody will give a shit.
but I want to double click on that because, like you said, you're doing your first seminar, and in my story, I went to teach that first seminar at Cigar City.
Yeah.
And I think about 10 people bought a ticket, and I was thrilled.
That
was as good as a great day of tattooing financially, but it was a different thing that I could do. And so I started wanting to be able to like do that at tattoo events, maybe tattoo 2 days and maybe also have a seminar. So I did that a number of times. But the very next day after my first seminar, got 2 different messages. One from Gabe Ripley, who was about to have the very first Paradise Tattoo Gathering.
Oh, wow. Okay.
With an invitation to just be there.
Oh, shit.
The second one was from Dirk Morrison, who had been running the Hell City Tattoo Fest for years. I was nervous to even reach out to Derb to see if I could maybe one day work his convention.
Yeah.
But now he's reaching out to me.
It's cool.
Giving me a spot to do the seminar. So like,
I took your one in Columbus.
You were at Match Made in Hell. I was just looking.
Yeah, with Gunner, right?
Yeah. That was 10 years ago. I just saw a photo of you there in the audience.
I thought that was hilarious. I think you posted it and I screen captured it and sent it to Big Me's, and him and I are just sitting right next to each other.
Yeah.
Because I was there for the Tattoo Fight Club. We had like tried to set up and do this whole like interactive Tattoo Fight Club thing with Derb. It was cool.
Yeah.
So then I don't think I was tattooing. So I was like, fuck it, I'll take a seminar.
I was thrilled to see you in the room. I don't know if I don't know if I knew you at the time, but like when I saw you in the photo, I was like, holy shit, Austin was there. Big Niece was there.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. That was a real fun time, man. It was like a really Big Me's, and I think he had come out from Ohio and was working at my shop at the time. Mm-hmm. And then we both decided like we were going to start going to do conventions together shortly after Jimmy called me out, and I was like, all right, fuck it. I'll do them, And then next thing you know, I'm like in Canada working the Calgary show right next to Jimmy and Joe. And I was like, yeah, this is so cool. It's like such a beautiful place. Like tattooing can just be so fun. And like, it's cool that you've incorporated it all in traveling and everything. Like it's really rad. Have you always done a lot of guest spots or anything too? Like I never.
Not a lot. No, I did those guest spots at Boulder that I mentioned. A few here and there, but if I wanted to travel now, that would be my preference, right? Like I'm really, really over tattooing at conventions. I'm over the lighting. I'm over the, not having the comfy table for my client or the comfy chair for me. Yeah. I've become extremely sensitive about the environment that I tattoo in.
Yeah.
And I need all my things. Yep. So
the older we get too. I'm not like, I remember taking the lamp from a hotel room and like duct taping it to the garbage can upside down just so I could get sunlight because nobody even thought about that.
I did all that.
Yeah.
At this point, like I still want to go to shows, but I value conversation,
the interaction,
networking, and building relationships that I can discover people that I can work with at Tattoo Smart, or I can have a greater impact than I would just like sweating bullets trying to finish a tattoo in time.
Yeah, especially if you're going there to compete, and plus what the guys are doing at the conventions nowadays is insane. It's like 3 full days. Like, how are clients like able to get tattooed for 3 full days? I've seen like an evolution in the tattoo conventions.
Yeah, right.
And a rise in the gatherings and the, more of these type of things, these intimate tattoo gatherings where we aren't working the whole entire time. We're actually learning and working on building relationships and educating ourselves. Yeah. Which I think is awesome. Like
it is, because look, I mean, tattoo conventions at this point, I think are for the general public, and tattoo conferences, educational for events or other similar things are popping up. And like I'm going to a wellness retreat that's being organized by Dan Cuban, the machine builder.
Whoa.
In Costa Rica.
Yes. Yeah.
I believe it's in August.
Is this like the second one, I thought?
Yeah. I believe he did one that was more like machine building class and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure it was great. But I started to pay attention to this because a few of my friends are on the roster. So Mike Chambers, Ryan Roy, and Ben Shaw are all joining with Dan. I apparently am joining as well. So
cool.
That's the news. But
is it just like an invite only type thing, or is it open?
They're going to start trying to offer it. There's only 20 spots available.
Oh, okay.
And it's a pretty big price tag, comparable to what it would cost to go to Costa Rica and stay in a nice place and eat good food for 9 days. It's not like I think it's a really fair price if that's the type of thing that you are used to spending a few $1,000s on. But I think the point is various things will happen, but it's at a wellness retreat, which also always, is available for people to go there and spend some time having various experiences. I think we're going to be doing some yoga together. I think we're going to be eating healthy. We're going to be fasting from alcohol and nicotine and coffee.
This is mature tattooing. We are tattooing mature.
Yeah. This is a very specific thing. Like this is like, okay, like I think the reason that it's men only is in a way, it is almost like a fast, it wasn't explained to me that way, but I kind of think it's that way. Okay. Like, there's a different, like we're at a convent or very small event right now that's for not only women only, but women who are moms.
Yeah.
So I think this sort of like, that's, niching down niche, of communities is, like, I'm not even sure why we're here. But I love a mom. Like,
I know.
She's here with me. Yeah. But, the idea with that, I think, is let's have a tighter bond between the people that are there. Let's have deeper conversations. Let's build relationships. Let's really like get past the surface level and, with this group of people and, hope to have an incredible experience.
I'm into it, dude.
Maybe you can come.
I'm constantly preaching to every young tattooer, like, your ass needs to be in yoga. Like, it's like, I'm actually missing my class right now. But
right.
Yeah. And hot yoga specifically, it's like the best thing I've ever done. All I'm doing is trying to just straighten out my back. And it's like helped me so much, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's every tattooer, right?
Yeah.
Like, at this point, I'm 26 years in. I almost quit tattooing because of how bad my back hurt. Like that was one of the main motivations for, I got to make this tattoo studio thing or this side hustle, Tattoo Smart thing, really make it possible for me to not tattoo if I don't have to, because I'm only getting older and this hurts.
I feel like we need to do some sort of like sounds like what they're doing is kind of longevity driven, but definitely like longevity education on for younger tattooers to get in this and things that help their eyes and the lighting and all, just there's a lot of different information there that can be thrown in. So that'd be kind of cool.
Ergonomics is a whole topic.
Maybe you and I will put together something. A small dude's yoga retreat. Do you do yoga much or no?
A couple times. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really hard for me. I do strength training mostly.
Okay.
I don't really particularly enjoy cardio, so I just like pushing heavy things.
Okay.
I like, I started taking TRT like a year and a half ago. So like I have a healthy 18-year-old lucky man's level of testosterone.
Okay. Wow. All right.
Which is good. I can recommend that. I was working out before, but like once I started doing that, started actually like building muscle more reliably and strength training was a big part of correcting the back pain. Another thing that helped was I got a table that actually like lifts up to a height where I can stand.
Yeah, my whole career I was working on the hunched out, I'm just like up, literally just bent over. And then ironically, I was in Denver like for Wolf and Goat had this winter art show. And I go over there and Van, his table just lifts all the way up to where it's like 5.5 feet off the ground. He's not the tallest dude too. And I'm like, damn, dude, you're so fucking lucky. Your whole entire career, you're just like working right out like this. What was I thinking? I don't know. You weren't thinking.
No, there wasn't really an option that I knew of for that. Adrian Lee's got a new product where, I forget exactly what it is, but I think it's designed to extend your normal massage table to make it higher.
Oh, okay.
I don't have that. I got it. My physical therapist actually sold me one of her extra physical therapy tables. And so there's a rail that goes all the way around it and you just touch it with your foot and it goes up and down.
Oh,
so it's really smooth motor and it can hold like 400 pounds or something like that. And ever since I got that, I've been standing 90% of the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And now I have a new kind of pain, which is like my knees hurt.
Yeah, I know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always joked around about getting some sort of like adapting one of those weird sex swings to where you just
from the ceiling.
Elevate.
Yeah. I've had the same idea.
I only say sex wings. I don't know of anything else like that.
Yeah, that's what everyone would be thinking. But no, it would just be like a system of pulleys and like various things.
Yeah.
Like I would actually, if you think about like Tom Cruise in like Mission Impossible where he comes down from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like why wouldn't I just be in that situation hovering above the client?
Yeah.
Right?
That would be really awesome, actually. Yeah. You just, all the weight and everything is just distributed evenly and dang. Yeah. Or if we could tattoo it floating in water somehow.
I would love that.
Yeah.
In space, right?
Yeah.
Weightless in space would be nice.
Dang.
There's a lot of new problems to solve once we start tattooing in space.
Just catching your ink caps like flying around the room. For someone that's always so forward thinking and the technology application to tattooing, like where are you seeing tattooing going? We've been throwing around the ideas of seeing the people with robots or lasers. Like, I don't know. Do you see anything weird that's coming in and not coming for us, but like,
yeah, look, I mean, I think that machines that do the work, autonomously are probably going to continue to be developed. They apparently already exist.
Yeah. There's like out of Austin, Texas, there's a guy that has these machines that he's making that's doing these like small square portraits and they're actually using cartridge type setups too, I think. Yeah. It's really wild.
Yeah. I saw some of the press releases and all the panic going around, but I have always wanted to experience what would happen in the future, right? Like I've enjoyed the fact that I was born when I was born. Yeah. And I've gotten to experience so many of the major shifts, from not having the internet.
Yeah. From a beeper to what our phones do now. Like I had a beeper.
Exactly. Like I'm loving this shit. Yeah. Of course I want to be able to keep making a living as a tattooer and a tattoo studio owner. And so I don't love, thinking about the doomsday scenario where it's like the Starship Troopers version of tattooing where they, all the cadets like went into the booth and they came out with new tattoos. Like that's happened in a few movies. Yeah. That seems bad for us, but then I also know like there's always a place for, or an appreciation for the people who do things the old way.
A human experience.
But before that, there can be a huge like disruption where a bunch of people who do things the old way that are refusing to adapt end up having no choice but to die, and not die literally, but like to maybe like not be able to make a living doing the thing they're doing. So one example that I can think of is sign painting.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've enjoyed supporting sign painters and bring people from other places to come into Ink and Dagger and do this because I think it's fucking awesome that there's this like skill, that people develop to the level that it was. But in a lot of ways, there was this giant workforce of sign painters and they were making show cards and they were making
billboards,
and real estate for sale signs, and all kinds of boring shit that none of them particularly enjoyed doing. And then like the fun, like interesting work was still probably relegated to a small select few, and when the vinyl plotter came along, it disrupted their business and a lot of them adapted it and they were like, fuck it. I was kind of sick of painting these stupid signs anyway. I'm just going to buy this machine and let it do it. And then others were like, this is bullshit. It's going to kill our industry. And they complained about it and they didn't
stick with it,
like adapt, and ultimately they are not in that business anymore, right?
Yeah.
So a disruption will absolutely occur.
I think so too.
And is occurring.
Yeah.
In so many ways in tattooing, and then there's like always going to be people who are like, "Fuck this! I don't like what it's becoming.
Yeah,
I want it back the old way." And then there's going to be other people who are like, "Going to educate myself about this. I'm going to see what it is. I'm going to explore it. I'm going to understand it at least and decide if it's useful for me or not. And I'm going to make an informed decision." And then there's going to be the younger crowd who are just automatically comfortable with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Those cycles continue. I mean, what is my answer? It will continue changing.
Yeah.
People like me will continue wondering what its usefulness is and, exploring it. People will also complain about it and we'll try to stop people from exploring it.
Yeah,
we'll try to shame them away from doing it.
We watch the same things happen with so many different cultures. Right. And it's interesting. I don't know why. I'm like convinced that there's going to be some sort of machine that like the laser can change the pigment of your skin. Like I feel like we'll have like some sort of weird like digital, like we'll see what we think tattooing is now. It won't be what we know it is as it is now. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my words, but like in my head, I feel like I see like there'll be like, especially like melanated skin, like being able to like laser in cool patterns or some shit. I don't know. Or what if you could laser in a portrait and it bleaches your skin? That'd be wild.
Well, yeah, it seems like you could. Like, I think it's already possible to bleach your skin.
Yeah.
Right. So and make it lighter. I think that's popular in some countries like Korea, for example. I think that they are into that. So like I've often wondered like, well, can you selectively bleach a specific area?
Yeah.
And then like once it's lighter, can you make colors look brighter in that skin? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I haven't wondered about it enough to try it. But like technology that I've seen seems to revolve around the idea of medical tattooing. So when there's something that pops up where you're like, you see it, press release goes out, someone's trying to raise money. some scientist somewhere is trying to apply some technology to tattoo, but they already recognize that tattoo in the normal sense isn't a big enough market and isn't interesting necessarily to investors. So if they need to raise money to try to fund their big thing, they tend to go like towards the medical use, I've noticed.
Yeah.
And so it'll be like, we're developing a tattoo that will change colors when your blood sugar is too high. I don't remember the exact use case, but they have already, there's patents for this shit and they've already put out press releases. So if you Google like medical tattoo, you'll enter into a whole wormhole of stuff. Like, so that will happen, or people are trying to bring that into existence. And then these like encapsulated particles that have like, there's been a few attempts and patents around that, right? Like, so
that's wild.
We can, instead of a normal tattoo pigment, if we can encapsulate a particle of some dye in something that will dissipate as soon as we hit it with a certain type of laser.
We
can laser tattoos out in one session.
Okay.
Right. And so, of course, the tattoo community says, not interested in that. You shouldn't get tattoos if you don't want to keep them for life.
Yeah.
But then clients or potential clients hear it and they go, maybe that would solve the problem of why I haven't gotten a tattoo.
Yeah.
Because of the permanence. Yeah. And so there's like this possible market. And then there's these people who are like, I don't want to deliver that service. Right. Over here, there's like a bunch of press and publicity and money and investment. Over here, there's a bunch of people saying, fuck you, I'm not doing it. And those companies, they have like a hard time like crossing that bridge.
Yeah.
I guess the scary thing is that like, if there's really a demand, like, someone will pop up to, deliver it. It'll just be like another thing. It'll be like, microbladers learning to do tiny tattoos, right?
Yep.
Right. And why are they doing that? Because there were a whole bunch of people in tattoo shops who were saying, no, I don't want to do that work. I'm not interested in, but there was a bunch of people who
were not nice to them when they walked in or whatever. Yeah.
So
kind of did to ourselves. Not us,
I mean, extent, like it's just simple economics, right? If there's a market that desires a product or service,
someone's going to jump on it.
Someone or some entity is going to be thinking about how can I, rise to meet that demand.
Shit. Well, I think we're good, dude. I don't know. What do you think? I don't want to get too doomsday. But,
I think it's cool, man. Like I think tattooing is at an exciting place.
I think so too.
I think technology is at an exciting place. We haven't said we haven't talked about AI yet.
Yeah.
I'm happy to. I use AI in my business quite a bit, like I get a lot out of AI tools. I have experimented with generative AI image stuff.
I think it's so fascinating.
I think it's fascinating and it's really interesting. And I also understand the ethical, problem that artists have with it. Yeah. And so I've kind of like stayed on the side of like, I'm interested and I'm going to explore it because I don't like to, not know what's going on with something, but I haven't like started, like bring it into my tattoo process really, and I haven't started using it to make tattoo smart stuff. Like we still go out and like hire artists. And I think that's like, that's me sort of like saying, okay, this is like, I think where I'm going to stay stuck now, I'm going to stay because I believe in compensating artists.
Yeah.
And I believe in what artists can produce. And, quite frankly, like if there is anything huge that's disrupting the business of Tattoo Smart, it's AI, it's like, here I am like in this like mindset of like, okay, we should adapt or die. And then I'm like, I don't know about this one. So that's where I kind of sit right now, but I'm not strongly against, but I'm also not like, running to switch over to a world where
I think
like,
it's just nice to be curious and at least like roundaboutly knowledgeable about what's going on. But damn, that shit is changing so fast. Like
it is.
I follow a lot of like just AI educators, and those guys like it's like every month, like it's insane.
I do too. Yeah,
it's fun.
I'm in the algorithm in YouTube for AI, so like I see all these updates and I think about how can I apply this or how would I?
You have to, especially with what you're doing. Like, it's cool. I don't really have anything that I'm aware of right now of what I can apply it to other than just like helping use like write content and stuff like that and help us like build emails and text kind of stuff.
Yeah. But copywriting. Yeah. There's an industry right there that's massively disrupted right now, totally. Because, humans used to get paid to think about words, and companies still will do that. But I think what they'll end up doing is hiring copywriters who can sound more human.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to spot AI copy
now. Yeah.
If you're not good at prompting it, like you can tell. Yeah. I know when a tattoo brand is using it, because I know. Like it's like, trust me, we can tell.
I always like in our team, I'm like, these tools are great. Let's use them to get things started, get things going, and then come back. Make sure you reread this and then rewrite it to where it's yours. Like, give it your flaws, give it your character and stuff. So
perfect example of maybe if there is a more ethical way developing of how to use AI and still feel human in that process. Because I think that's like the key thing that I always hit on when I think about, well, what's going to happen in the future. The version I like the best is the one where the AI or the tool, whatever it happens to be, helps to do the work that frees your human creativity and time up to do some more interesting work. Yeah. Because I think I naturally like the more digital design tricks that I've learned, the more that I've had energy and effort to put into what I wanted to create. Yeah. I never stopped wanting to create because I'm a human.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I guess there's a general level up that happens because of whatever the tool is. And then there's like, what am I going to do with the opportunity created? How am I still going to compete against other humans who are also using the same tools?
Yeah.
And then it just, that's the utopian version.
Yeah.
For anyone who's like stuck in the dystopian version right now, try to think of it that way.
I randomly keep wanting to play with the character generators type thing. I don't know how you describe that, but like basically you can like film yourself doing talking head video, and then you can build like I wanted to build like this character that was a penguin, like this is our mascot for our company, and then have him talk. I just want to play with it and see what it comes up with.
I watched a video about that the other day. It looked like you have to do some like basic rigging, like you've got to like connect the eyes to. If you build your own character, right? Like you have to like go in and tell it, okay, this is a mouth. And then you have to give it all of the different mouths for all of the vowel sounds.
Oh, wow.
So you program all of those different shapes of mouths in that they give you like a template for, right? So you just draw those mouths with your penguin.
Whoa.
And then there's the brows and the eyes, and you basically just like fill it in.
Yeah.
And give it all the parts. And then once you do that, you can act out what you want on camera, and the penguin will follow that. It'll just copy you and use your voice.
Weird, dude.
Yeah. I think it doesn't look that hard.
No, I just think it'll be fun to play with.
It would absolutely be fun to play with.
Yeah. I want to do that. I'm gonna try, maybe talk more about that.
I'll try to look in my video history and find the video I watched and figure out what the software was. Because a lot of times with AI stuff, you're stringing together 3 different AIs to do it. Like you might be using one to generate a voice, like you put a script in and then it reads in a voice, and you take the voice and you feed it to this other one and it hears the voice and makes the AI character's mouth move to say those words.
Oh, weird. And then you can change the voice now too to where like I can make a penguin sound like Snoop Dogg and
easily.
That's trippy, dude.
And a lot of that stuff I think is coming into like the CapCut app for TikTok too. So like, I guess the way it works is like there's random software that's hard to use with a bad user experience. And like early people will go and explore it. And then the user experience gets better. And all of a sudden, like it hits mainstream and everyone can use it. And I think we're in like the sort of the middle right now, where user experience is starting to get easy enough, but it's definitely not mainstream.
I want to play with it more. I'm glad you nerd out about that stuff. It's cool.
Awesome.
But so I don't know. I think we're pretty good.
You said we were done 10 minutes ago.
Oh yeah, I always start back up, dude. I always say I'm done, and then I think we're cool, man. Like I'm super happy to have you here and get to know you and your wife better. And I'm really pumped about sitting down and listening to your seminar. So
sweet. All
right. And yours is today or tomorrow?
Friday.
2
days
Friday.
from
Okay.
Now. Yeah.
Okay. Mine's tomorrow. I'm the worst at schedule. I got to check my schedule like 10 times a day. But yeah, dude, I hope you enjoy Vegas, man. And I would really like to bring you over to the Maverick warehouse and give you a little tour. And we're talking about buildings. Yeah. So then maybe I'll go show you, or I'll at least show you where some of the murals are that we painted this in town, so you can get out there and check some stuff out. But
sweet.
I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me, dude. It's always really good to like get to know you a little better.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And give us a little quick lay it on your Ink and Dagger tattoo.
Yes, Ink and Dagger Tattoo in Roswell, Georgia.
Yeah,
Tattoo Smart in the universe.
Yes.
We are available in most of the world, except for where they are blocking the internet from this country.
Okay,
might be happening in a few places.
Oh, that's interesting. Holy shit!
And
social media, as we follow you on, like mostly most everybody. I feel like already follows you, but if you don't, get on there and check it out.
Maybe.
Yeah. So thank you so much, dude. I appreciate it, man. And I look forward to hearing from you this weekend. And I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.